I was intrigued by how precisely the family tunes their equipment. At home and at the local bow shop, all details of arrows and bows are precisely adjusted to make the results accurate and consistent.
I know my dad's worked on my equipment since I was young, and so as far as that goes, they've definitely helped me step up to the next level in equipment.
A lot of the people start their young kids out
At like 10.
and they buy them cheaper stuff, low grade, arrows that aren't as straight. When Stacy and I've always tried to buy both our kids the best bows, the best arrows we can get for them. It helps. Little stuff like that helps as far as tuning kits and everything. It works just better, and your kids will enjoy it more. Everybody, you'll shoot higher scores with the better equipment. Yeah, a lot of the preparation we do for Paige's tournaments and stuff, I have a little RCBS scale. I'll weigh out all our tips, which they're really good. The Easton components are great, and there's hardly anything I ever have to do with the X10s. But once in a while, just to check them all, I'll weigh I have a notch in here. I'll weigh the tips. They're supposed to weigh a certain weight. You get them centered on there, and they'll be within half a grain. Usually, everything close. That one's one grain off, and then you'll weigh all the arrows, and that tip might weigh the same as all the. They're all within a grain or less, and you weigh the shafts. When you get done, these are a couple shafts that I've already made completely for her. 327. You grab the next shaft. Let me get it centered there. 326.9. So I'll have them within 1/10 or 2/10 of a grain when they're all done and finished, and that helps her for her long range stuff. You don't want any arrows that are off, in the weight. You won't notice that close, but when you get to your long range stuff, those weight differences will make a difference in your spine, your arrow, and all kinds of stuff like that. So we take a lot of time weighing that, getting our strings perfect, all our timing, just a lot of preparation on arrow stuff that you can do to make yourself a better shot. If these tips, if I weigh these and they aren't the same weight, what I will do is I'll weigh the shafts. I take a piece of paper and I'll weigh a dozen of her shafts. I'll weigh all of them and put them on there, and I'll write from heaviest to lightest. Then I'll weigh a dozen of these tips and I'll put them down on a piece of paper. I lay them next to their weight, heaviest to lightest, and then you can match them up. Sometimes you don't have to grind them. You can grind these down a little bit if they're not right, just a hair off or on, and you can take the lighter shafts. If they'll be so close, but you can take the lighter shafts and these will be so close and match them up with the heavier ones, and all you end up with your arrows will all be within probably a grain of each other, the same weight. So there's things you can do to fix that. Some of the other tips, not these style, but they're hollow in the back. You can take hot melt glue and drip into the back of them to get all your tips exactly the same weight, within a few tenths. Just little stuff like that to change your balance, your arrow, so everything comes out of their bow good for tuning. Most of the time in the winter time, this is usually a bar we eat on for breakfast and stuff. But through archery season, it turns into a workbench. As you can see, all the denatured alcohol from cleaning the arrows. Some of these arrows, these are my wife's. Son shoot these. There's a Fletcher jig. We got all the different angles and fletching. Snaps in there. This is a Bitzenberger, which is a good Fletcher. You got a magnetic clamp. You'll take, I'm not going to glue one on here, but I'll show you how it's done. We'll clean these shafts. What I'll do to fletch these. So you'll clamp, I have a mark here. It gives you I set mine and Paige's and everybody's a little further away from the shaft. That way at full draw you don't have contact with your face with that vein. Because if it's too far back and you have someone with a rounder face or a chubbier face, when they're anchored, their fletching touches their face, which should cause deflection when it takes off. So I tend to set the shafts a little further down. I put a mark in there so they're sitting not so far right to the end. So there's a little bit of a space, as you can see on these. You've got a gap there on the end, so they don't. That puts them away from the fletching, so it's not touching your face. And then for these shafts, I'll take some wet and dry sandpaper and I'll sand these just a little bit till they're rough. And I'll take and sand the shaft also, and I'll wipe it down with denatured alcohol on both of them. And then don't touch it with your hands. And there's lots of different kinds of glue to use. I use just a standard cheap crazy glue that you can get like at Walmart, 4-pack of it, and just put a slight bead down the thing to cover the whole shaft. Put it on there. I squeeze it down usually just for count to like 20 seconds and hold both sides of it so there's no air gap in there. You don't want a vein to pull off. And then let it go. Then when you pull the shaft off, the vane will be stuck on there. It's got adjustment. Turn it to the next one. You can set it for 3 fletch or 4 fletch, and you do your arrows all so that it doesn't all match. I was telling you earlier that she broke something. It broke one of these just a little ear off this rest. So she had to grab her backup bow. She was in an elimination round. You don't have time to fix it. Can't call equipment failure. So she had it at the rest, but not time to fix it. She grabbed her backup bow, and all the preparation she does before, it's already sighted in and ready to go. She's already shot it and tested. It's proven. She just grabs it with confidence. She can grab it and shoot instead of going, oh no, my shoot's over because my rest broke. So it's nice to have all your stuff, at least a backup, everything ready, prepared when you're going to shoot. We mark all our timing on our cams. There's a black line below and above. We mark everything, and you measure axle length on these. I write it down on here. We have all this written down, the length of our axles. That way if you go to a tournament and the temperature gets hot and you have string stretch or something, you can measure it. You can set it, if you have a bow press, which we carry, you can set it right back to where it is and get all your specs on. Humidity and elevation will change your point of impact. You know, if you're in higher elevation, you're going to shoot high. Like we just shot a tournament in Oregon next to the coast, and the humidity's real. It's the same level as here, but the humidity's different. I lost about a yard on my bow, so I'm shooting low. So I knew that already, so I sighted in for it a little high here, so I was on up there. But there's different aspects of elevation, humidity, and temperature, and a lot of stuff makes a difference on your equipment. We tend to use 452 strings. It's a BCY product, and it's really good stuff. It doesn't stretch, and it keeps you consistent. I like to use a heavier strands on the cables, because that way it keeps it, if you're shooting in Oklahoma and it's in the hot weather, and here we have hot temperatures, 110, your timing doesn't go off because your strings don't stretch. And there's things like that that'll help you, to keep her on target longer. This is a string stop by Hoyt. They have it on all their bows, most all their bows. And you draw back your bow, and when you shoot in slow-mo, this will come in, a lot of bows with low brace height, especially their speed bows, you'd come back when you shot, and the string will go forward, and it'll come all the way up here and slap you in the wrist. By Hoyt using this, it'll stop your string right there. And so you don't get the wrist slap on these. And so you don't really need it on target bows, but it helps her. We've tried them with it and without it, and I didn't notice any score differences on it. And slow motion video shows when this goes off, it puts a big whale belly in this right here, where it would normally come up and hit your arm, but it doesn't with it on there. So she doesn't like to get her arm slapped. It stays on there. Here's some of the weights. She shoots for bee stinger, and they have the adjustable weights that go off and on your bow, and this will screw under a stabilizer. Stacy, would you please hand me her bow over here? And I can show. And like we say, it's a work in progress. You can to hold better in the wind. She's got the weights on the end, and they usually say on a general rule it's 3 to 1. One for every one here, it'd be 3 on the back. But everybody's personal holding weight and preference is different. So she'll go to tournaments and change her weights on the back or front to make it hold better. The angle of her bar. Sometimes some people shoot V-bars. I shoot a V-bar. I've been trying that out lately. And there's all different aspects to try to get your bow to shoot better, to ring all the points you can get out. Grip tape. We're trying that. That's something new. She just started that a couple days ago. And put that on there because your hand gets sweaty and wants to slide, and it keeps you steady. But some people say that's good. So, you try it. She'll try a tournament with it. If it doesn't work, she'll take it off and try it back the other way. And there's your... like you were saying about the scopes, do you have your marks? Paige, can I move this?
Yeah.
Here's your clicks we were talking about earlier. You can hear it clicking. It's got a little detent in it, and here's your yardage right here. I can shed a light on it for you right here. And you got all your yardage on there, and you can click it up and down. So you see you're shooting high. That's where you adjust your marks on your clicks on these scopes. And they've got just a dot with a level in the side. You can see the level is in the center of that scope, right now. And if you're shooting in the wind and it's coming from one side to the other, you can tilt that scope that way. Just see half of the bubble goes through that line off the side, and that'll make you shoot out to one side into the wind, and basically it'll drift you back into it. On a normal day when it's calm, you want it sitting right there in the center like that.
The process is a great example of necessity being the mother of invention, the constant evolution of equipment when a challenge is encountered. For example, the arrow rest can affect the flight of the arrow if the fletchings hit it on the way by. So this particular rest is made to move out of the way once the string is released and the arrow has momentum. The compound bow itself is the result of a need satisfied. The force it takes to pull back a 60-pound recurve bow and hold it is immense. When was the last time you lifted 60 pounds with one arm, then held it steady and aimed at a 4-inch bullseye 80 yards away? Pretty difficult. So the cams on a compound bow provide leverage, so the force required to hold and aim is minimal, and yet when released it still provides the full force of the bow. All of these equipment elements, well attended to, keep Paige in position to enjoy champion moments like this.
Paige.
Really close.
You got it?
I think Paige got it.
Paige got it.
It's so close.